So, after hours of watching Coconut RTS, almost getting sniped from across the map one too many times, and being obsessed with the Tomahawk in Black Ops, you've decided you want to become a Huntress main. But when you finally play her, you're like, why do I keep missing? Where's my crosshair? How on earth do people get shots from across the map, yet I can't even hit this person 4 feet in front of me? Well, don't you worry, I'm here to hold your hand and guide you down the path to becoming a Huntress main. Huntress's ability allows her to be a menace to anyone on the map at any time. However, before you learn how to run, you first need to learn how to walk. And by walk, I mean find the center of your screen. Now this is actually easier than it may sound. You see that little W right there? Well, this little guy is our ticket to finding our vertical center. All we need to do is draw a line from the middle of the W up, and boom, we have our vertical center. Now we need to find the horizontal center. The way I do this is by using Coconut's tip of using the axe. Now this will be a bit rougher as the axe has an animation, but it gets the job done. The way I do it is by drawing a line across from this line on the axe. Now like I said, it's a bit rougher because the axe moves, but it will mostly bob around that center. Now put those two together and voila! You have the center of your screen. Now some people would opt to use a crosshair, especially when they're just starting, but I would suggest when you're comfortable with a crosshair, taking it off and practicing without one just to help solidify the muscle memory. Huntress has two types of shots, arc shots and fully charged. Arc shots have a slower travel speed, less range, and like the name suggests, they travel in an arc, which make them great for throwing over line of sight blockers. On the other hand, fully charged shots are faster and can travel further, allowing you to go for those cross-map shots. You'll know when your hatchet is fully charged up when you hear this sound. Keep in mind, however, this sound can be heard map-wide and make survivors cautious when out in the open. Now from my experience, most of your shots should be fully charged shots for one reason only: patience. Giving yourself that time to fully charge up a shot allows you to assess what the survivor is doing and gives you more of an opportunity to make correct adjustments to your aim. You can also somewhat control where a survivor is going just by holding up a hatchet, allowing you to move them into a position where they are easier to hit. Arc shots, on the other hand, are most useful when a survivor tries to use a small line of sight breaker. There's a good chance the survivor will keep running away from you once there's cover between you both, especially if there's no pallet or window, so an arc shot might catch them off guard. So now that you've got an idea of where the center of your screen is, as well as the two types of shots that Huntress has, let's talk about aim. Now one thing I see a lot of newer Huntress players do is aim where the survivor is. While this may make sense in other games, in Dead by Daylight you have to take into consideration that the hatchet has airtime before it lands. So instead of aiming where the survivor is, you'll have a better chance of landing a hatchet if you aim where you think they are moving to. Let's take this clip for an example. I see the Nia in the distance running to my right. Taking into consideration that she's the last survivor up, she is more than likely heading to the hook. Now because she's moving, there's no point in me throwing the hatchet where she is, because by the time it reached where she was, she would have already moved. So instead, I'll make a prediction of the path she is following, and try to find a clearing along that path. When she's close to where I'm aiming, but not quite there, then I'll throw. Now some survivors might be aware that they're your target. If so, just take your time to observe how the survivor is moving, and use this information to make a prediction of how they will react. Also, keep an eye out for line of sight blockers, as most survivors will tend to run to these when you're aiming. For our final topic, we're going to go over both perks and add-ons. Let's start with add-ons. Huntress has a vast variety of add-ons that do many different things. For a beginner, however, I would recommend these two: the infantry belt, which grants you an additional 2 hatchets, and the leather loop, which grants you an additional 1 hatchet. If paired with the infantry belt, this will take you up to 8 hatchets. Keep in mind that Huntress only has 5 hatchets without any add-ons. Now these add-ons are great because the more hatchets you have, the more shots you can take without having to reload. On top of these two, I'd also recommend these add-ons, just for when you feel comfortable to remove the belts. The deerskin gloves, just in case you want the extra speed whilst reloading. The yoke haft, which reduces the cooldown between hatchet throws. And my personal favourite, the glowing concoction. This allows you to see the aura of a survivor that you hit with a hatchet. This makes it absolutely incredible for follow-up shots. Now let's move on to perks. Now for a beginner, I would recommend a mix of gen slowdown and aura perks. For the aura, I would run barbecue and chili, which allows you to see all the survivors that are 40 meters away from you for 5 seconds after you hook someone. And bitter murmur, which allows you to see the auras of all survivors within a 16 meter radius of a completed gen for 5 seconds. Pair this with something like corrupt intervention, which blocks 3 gens at the start of a trial for 2 minutes or until someone is downed. And scourge hook pain resonance, which makes gens regress by 25% of their progression for each time you hook a survivor on a scourge hook for the first time. Now of course there are many other different perks you can choose, but this is just my recommendation. You can also run these gen slowdowns instead: Overcharge, Deadlock, Pop Goes the Weasel, and these are some great aura perks: Gearhead, Lethal Pursuer, Floods of Rage, and Darkness Revealed, which allows you to see the auras of survivors within 8 meters of lockers every time you search a locker. This also procs every time Huntress reloads. However, some maps have lockers that are very spaced out, making it very situational. The combination of these perks allows you to practice your shots without gens going too quickly, giving you more time to practice. Huntress is a really fun killer to play. She definitely has one of the most satisfying powers out of the whole killer roster. I've tried my best to give many tips in this video, but I think the one most important tip to remember is to always be patient. Don't rush your hatchet throws. You can do a lot more by being patient than you can by rushing. And don't be discouraged if you miss. There will always be some shots that you miss, no matter how good you are. You can grow as a Huntress player just by asking yourself, what could I have done differently every time you miss a shot? I mean, there are many times where I miss some of the most easiest shots imaginable, but at the end of the day, you miss every shot that you don't take. I hope you learned something from this video. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, or swing by my Twitch and you can ask me there. I'll be more than happy to answer. Thank you all for watching, and good luck with your journey to becoming a Huntress main.